Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, second hour kicks off right now on this Wednesday morning of July 22nd. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us a part of your start here. Coming up in about an hour, we're going to chat with Ty from the Slab Factory, talk a little bit about the sports card hobby. Every couple of weeks we catch up with Ty, always a fun conversation. So if you have any questions for him, please feel free to shoot them on over to that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text. 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some Brewers chat coming up here as we get ready for the rubber match this afternoon. 1 week from today, Packers will hold their first training camp practice. Some teams already getting set this week, so we got lots to get to yet. But we've got a special edition of Inside the Training Room brought to you by Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine with our guy, Dr. Austin Crow. Happy Wednesday, Doctor. Thanks for joining us earlier on this week, dude. How you doing?
Great. Beautiful day out today.
It's gorgeous out. We were at baseball last night. I'm like, it almost feels like fall a little bit with the temperatures and football and yeah.
The heat and smoke were pretty nasty the last couple of weeks, so it seems pretty majestic out right now.
Exactly. So, hey, I want to start off with the latest, Brandon Woodruff. So he addressed the media on Saturday and made it official that he is going to have surgery again, another capsule surgery. He is not retiring. He is going to try to rehab after surgery and that. But I got to ask you, since this is his second one within the last few years, does this make it more difficult for him to return? I mean, does it limit? Does it shorten those chances for him to return? I mean, just how is this going to be tougher for him to come back from that first time?
I mean, whenever you're looking at a revision surgery, I think the answer is going to be yes. It's the predictability goes down. So, I mean, whether it's an ACL, whether it's a meniscus procedure, whether it's a capsular procedure in a shoulder or stabilization procedure, those are all things that whenever you go back in, when we fix tissue, presumably, again, like we talked about, this is likely an avulsion of the capsule and ligaments off the humor. So he's probably it's called a haggle. That's my suspicion as to what it is. So you go in, you put anchors, you grab the tissue, pull it back to the bone. The expectation, of course, that heals incorrectly. Obviously, his was doing okay for a while because he was able to rebound and get back despite a lengthy recovery. And then, presumably there was a re-tear. So when you get back in there the second time, I can tell you the tissue's not quite as good. You already have some anchors in the bone, so that's not pristine area to put anchors in. So there are some technical challenges. Do I think it's a Hail Mary kind of situation? No, I don't. I think that there's still a good chance he can bounce back. I mean, traditionally, these type of shoulder surgeries do have a pretty high rate of recovery. That being said, he's trying to get back to be a Major League Baseball pitcher, and that's not exactly a low-level thing. So he needs to get back and rehab to the point where he's basically at 99% or better to truly get back at a Major League pitching level. So that's always a challenge. You add in the revision setting. Again, I'm not saying it's hopeless by any stretch, but I'd say the odds of him coming back are lower for this one than his first one. And any time a pitcher has surgery on a throwing elbow or shoulder, there's always a chance they just don't get back from that. So, yeah, I mean, certainly not an ideal situation, but, in that press release that he had, I mean, I think it's really get a positive attitude and saying, look, I have to attack this rehab. I have to go after this. It's another step to get back and do what I want to do. So, I mean, that's the approach he's going to need, and it's certainly not going to be an easy road, but one, he's been down. So I guess that's one advantage he does have is he's rehabbed it. He's been through it once, and he kind of knows what he needs to do. So maybe that'll be a slight advantage. But, as far as the overall surgery and predictability, like I said, I think that's certainly worse the second time around.
Is there any concern, with scar tissue buildup since this is a second time with his surgery? I know we've talked about, scar tissue before with other injuries. Is that a factor with this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you go back, I mean, in people's minds, you think of what a capsule of a shoulder looks like. Obviously, not many listeners probably do a lot of shoulder arthroscopy like myself, but it's usually a fairly pristine layer of tissue that serves as basically a restraint to shoulder movement. So that's really the purpose of the capsule. It has thickenings that we dub them ligaments, but it's not like an ACL where it's this big, thick, robust ligament. It's really just kind of a thickening of the capsule. Point being, it's normally this layer, nice, healthy layer. In this case, it absolutely is going to have scar tissue. So when the surgeon's in there grabbing it with suture, because that's what you do, you put an anchor in the bone, suture to go into the tissue to pull it back to the bone. There's not a clear delineation to say, okay, this is bad scar tissue, this is good capsule. Sometimes you're kind of having a hard time distinguishing between the two. And furthermore, you can't just haphazardly go in and just grab whatever you want and tuck it back in. I mean, if you over-tighten it, he'll never throw again. I mean, he needs to have good range of motion. But that's the balancing act of these kind of capsular surgeries is you need to tighten it up enough to stabilize the shoulder, but not make it so tight they don't have normal range of motion. And pitchers certainly, I mean, we've talked about this in the past. If you watch a slow motion picture of a pitcher throwing a baseball, their arm and elbow get put in extreme position. So he needs to regain a really significant, I mean, I'd say slightly even beyond the normal range of motion in order to throw a baseball at that level. So that surgeon has to walk that fine line of saying, okay, I need to A, grab good enough tissue, but B, it has to keep the shoulder, with adequate range of motion to go back to pitching. So yeah, I don't envy the surgeon who has to try walk that fine line because it's going to be a situation that if he deviates one way, making it too loose, obviously the shoulder will remain unstable. If it makes it too tight, he won't be able to throw. So yeah, that'll absolutely be part of the surgery the surgeon will have to navigate.
Staying with the Brewers and shoulder injuries, my guy, Sal Frelick, was put on the injured list due to a shoulder injury. And yesterday, he said that he underwent an arthrogram. So first off, what's an arthrogram?
So an arthrogram is an MRI where they actually inject dye into the joint. Generally, we're using it to see finer details. So a standard MRI does not involve contrast into the joint itself, which is what an arthrogram is. So what you're looking for is either going to be a subtle tear in the rotator cuff or more likely in this case, a subtle tear in the labrum. So he's probably going to be looking at labral pathology in all likelihood. Occasionally you'll get throwers who can have subtle rotator cuff tears, but usually that's an injury we see more often in either, pitchers or frankly older patients. It's usually not kind of the standard shoulder injury we see. So my guess is they're looking for a labral tear.
Dude, you must have just read my mind because then Pat Murphy afterwards said the first opinion was not anything major in terms of news. We knew he had some stuff in the labrum, some rotator cuff irritation, so nothing that seemed to be earth-shattering, but he is getting a second opinion on it. So when you hear the fact that he's getting a second opinion on that, do you think maybe it was something that he didn't like to hear, that maybe he's going to be out a little bit longer and just maybe trying to find a different course of action?
Yeah, I mean, second opinions are pretty dang common in pro players, as we know. I think there is always that element, like if they get the news they wanted, they're probably not going to go barking up another tree. But I do think that the rate of guys getting second opinions are very high. I think it also may be the fact that maybe he's thinking, look, there's more going on than you're leading me to believe. And so sometimes patients, will look at you and say, like, I feel like there's something more going on, and the answer you're giving me isn't what I want, and that happens. And so, as a surgeon, patients will often ask, like, what are your thoughts on a second opinion? I personally, in my patients, I welcome them. I mean, if someone has a different opinion than me, I'm always, all ears to hear what they have to say. Or, of course, if they say the exact same thing you say, it really cements in the patient's mind, okay, this is going on. Again, with pro athletes, you're looking at a return to a level that is just so much higher than the average athlete or weekend warrior that we normally take care of. The margin for being right and wrong is much more narrow. And so these guys, when their livelihood is on the line, their careers are on the line, they want to make sure everything is exact. So, in that setting, to get an arthrogram and a second opinion for more information is certainly not going to be a bad thing. My guess is if they're using that combination of labral pathology and a rotator cuff irritation, it's likely a phenomenon we call internal impingement. That's where during the throwing motion, you get a little bit of the rotator cuff rubbing against the labrum that can cause problems. It can get to the point where there's actual frank tearing, but usually if you catch this early enough, you're able to get through this with just rehabilitation, which is probably what the first surgeon told them. And then my guess is they just want to make sure that there's not more extensive tearing. And then arthrogram will certainly give better visualization of that because it basically inflates the joint with that contrast. So if there's a subtle tear in the rotator cuff, for example, it'll lift it up away from the bone, and the contrast will cut under the rotator cuff, and you can see it very clearly because the contrast is made to really show up on an MRI very clearly. Additionally, you can have little natural clefts in your labrum adjacent to the glenoid or the socket, and contrast will fall into those as well. And it gives us a better idea if this is just a natural cleft or is it truly a tear. So, yeah, an arthrogram no doubt will give better visualization. Whether that changes the course of action, of course, would remain to be seen.
With NFL training camps getting going this week and more teams going next week, obviously we've got a lot of last year when we look at some of those season-ending injuries, a lot of big names out there, and one is Patrick Mahomes, and they're still saying that they expect him to be ready for week 1, even though he tore his ACL and LCL in week 15. I mean, just how rare would that be for somebody to return that quickly and be ready for week 1 if Patrick Mahomes was to go out there and play?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely ahead of what will be my timeline for a patient. I mean, a multi-ligament knee injury like that, especially a guy who's just his style is mobile, right? I mean, he's not a true scrambling quarterback, but we all know that Mahomes extends plays with his feet almost every single play, it seems like. So, I mean, good for him if the knee is rehabbing that way and feels that good. And I'm trying to remember, did he have a surgery with Dan Cooper down in Texas? I think that he did.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, just a little bit of history to that. And I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He was a Cubs outfielder who returned to the World Series. He's not in the Cubs. I think he's with the Phillies now.
Schwarber?
Yes. So Schwarber, if you remember, he came back in the World Series and hit that, I think it might have been the series-winning double off the wall. He came back at the same surgery, ACL, posterolateral corner. He came back to play in the World Series. I want to say it was at like 3 or 4 months, which is way earlier. Now, I think if you look at the special circumstance of playing in a World Series game, I think guys are willing to push stuff. But I think you have to look at every surgeon has a different appetite for, their level of risk. And it's a discussion you have with your patient. Because there's patients who want to get back at like week 1. I'm being a little bit, facetious, but, you have to sometimes find that middle ground. Clearly, Dan Cooper's got a little bit more leeway with his patients, and certainly Schwarber's come back, and he's obviously having a great career, and his knee's doing really well. But it's not a guarantee if you come back early you're going to get injured, but the risk is higher. So you have to look at it from, my conversations with patients in this circumstance. You just say, look, at this point, especially with 2 ligaments that are injured, I think your risk of injury is just too high coming back early. Apparently, he's a little more comfortable with that. So would it be – I think most surgeons – wouldn't let him come back that quickly, but clearly his knee's doing well, and he's got a track record of athletes coming back, so maybe it's something that will take place.
I almost feel like if I was an offensive lineman for the Chiefs, I'd almost be under a lot more pressure than I normally would be, because it's like that first hit Patrick Mahomes takes, everybody's going to be holding their breath, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the hit. I mean, truthfully, if I was a surgeon, I'd be holding my breath the first time he tries to make a juke out in the middle of the field. I mean, that's truly where he'd be more likely to re-injure it. But yeah, you can certainly get any injury with a hit as well. But no doubt, I mean, those linemen, if they're porous and they're letting guys through, and he's got to run around for his life in the backfield, yeah, that's going to certainly raise some people's blood pressure on the whole sideline. So yeah, I mean, we'll have an idea what's happening during training camp. Leading preseason, all that stuff. We're going to see exactly what he's doing, what reps he's getting. So we'll have an idea. I mean, just a little bit of me feels like this might be Aaron Rodgers part 2, where he said he was going to come back right away with his Achilles, and it's just a lot earlier than normal. And again, going back to Schwarber, that was for a World Series game. I mean, you're like, okay, this is like all the cards are on the table there. To come back for week 1, is it really worth that risk? I guess we'll see, right? Time will tell.
Right. He's Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for our Wednesday edition of Inside the Training Room. Dude, appreciate the time as always. Thanks for adjusting your schedule and hopping on a little bit earlier this week. And have a good rest of your week, and we'll chat with you again soon, okay, bud?
Sounds good. Take care, Dan.
You got it. There you go. Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Always a great conversation with our doc. We always appreciate his time. So, all right. Let's take a quick break, and we'll have plenty more to get to here on this Wednesday morning. We're right back in just a few minutes. It happens every single year. 1 minute, you're grilling some burgers, some brats, maybe heading to the lake and watching the kids play outside, ball games, and the next thing you know, you're shopping for school supplies and wondering where the heck summer went. Well, before the backpacks come out and the busy fall schedule takes over, now is the perfect time to freshen up your home with some new flooring from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Whether it's maybe some soft new carpet for the family room, some durable luxury vinyl for those muddy boots and those busy kids, or some rigid max flooring to give your whole home a new look, the team at Carpet City Flooring Center will help you find the perfect floor for your family and your budget. They're locally owned and operated, so they know Wisconsin homes, and they're committed to making the process easy from start to finish. Make the most of these last weeks of summer. Stop on in to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire today, because home is where Wisconsin families make their best memories. Again, a big thanks to Dr. Crow for joining us for an early version of Inside the Training Room, brought to you by Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. If you missed any of those conversations, they are up in our podcast form. So if you missed his take on Brandon Woodruff, that'll be up in podcast a little bit later on this morning. We'll get back to some more of your texts. I know I got quite a few here to get to. Paul, keep those coming too for Ty from Slab Factory. He's going to be joining us here at the top of the hour. We're going to switch gears and chat a little football. The Packers begin their first training camp practice a week from today. We're going to be over there next month at some time, so more details to come over there. But something fun planned next month when we're over there. But with practice beginning, Packers obviously making some news a couple days ago, extending Devontae Wyatt to a 3-year extension. We talked quite a bit about that yesterday. But, Joe, your thoughts on the extension for Devontae Wyatt that came down the wire late Monday afternoon?
Yeah, I love it. And again, it goes back to it's a paint-by-the-numbers off-season for Brian Gutekunst, because I think we've all talked about it. Sean Ryan, that was a question. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Devontae Wyatt, and, of course, Tucker Kraft is probably going to be next. And so, this is what a draft and develop football team does. And don't get me wrong, I think, Goody has shown a propensity that if he needs to go outside the draft and develop, he does. But it's getting guys to that second and even sometimes that third contract. And so I thought this was a good contract for both sides. Green Bay, I believe, around $14 million, still under the cap for this year. So I do see that Tucker Kraft extension getting done as well. But I like it. I think Devontae Wyatt, when he's healthy, and I get it, that's a big if, or that's a big when. But when he is healthy, he is probably the most disruptive defensive lineman they have. And so I think it was a good deal for both sides. I think Wyatt got the numbers that he wanted, and it keeps Green Bay in a good salary cap position. So just counting those days now until 85 gets his.
When you look at some of those deals that were done by Green Bay so far this season, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Devontae Wyatt, does it almost seem to, yep, the player got some money, but also if you had to pick, kind of trended towards team-friendly deals too?
Oh, 100%. I think if you look at the totality of these deals and look at the guaranteed dollars and then look at how they're able to spread some of the cap hit out, but Green Bay does it smart, in my opinion, is they are very, very limiting on guaranteed contracts. And the agents like to puff out their chest a little bit and maybe exaggerate the numbers, but I think when you look at the hard facts and you look at the actual numbers, I would agree with you. I think all of these deals that Green Bay has gotten done, I think if you were to say who won one side or the other, I think you'd say Green Bay. Now, look, interesting situations with all of these because there's injury history, so the team had a little bit more leverage, I think, than in most cases. But I don't think Devontae Wyatt or Jaden Reed or Christian Watson is looking at themselves in the mirror or looking at the agent and saying, you done me wrong, or you didn't do your job, or maybe we left money on the table. I think these are really, really good deals for both sides. But if there was a technical knockout, I would probably say the Packers have won all of these deals.
And for a lot of fans wondering why Tucker Kraft's deal hasn't been done yet, I mean, this was always going to be the toughest one to negotiate, right? I mean, this is a guy that is coming off of an ACL injury, but, I mean, he has a legit argument to say he's a top 5 tight end in the National Football League, so it's one of those fine balances. This was always going to be, of all those guys that we just mentioned, this Tucker Kraft one was always going to be the toughest one to negotiate, wouldn't you think?
100%. And Dan, I go back to what the offense looked like, and I'm going to go back to one game in particular, and that was the Pittsburgh game. And if I'm not mistaken, it was on National Tight End Day, and it was on the national stage. And that offense, and what Jordan Love was able to do with that offense, and that was the game again. I can't remember the exact number. I don't know. I don't know if it was 20 or 21 consecutive completions that game. But that offense ran through Tucker Kraft. There's just no question. And I think he was absolutely on his way to a monster year. So I agree with you. I think Green Bay knows the value of Tucker Kraft to this offense. I think Tucker Kraft knows his value around the league. And so this is the one where you're going to have to break the bank, and I'm probably going to say Tucker Kraft has more leverage than the Packers. And so there's just no question that I think Matt LaFleur and that offensive staff realized what they finally had in that Pittsburgh game, and that was going to be the beginning of a monster run for Tucker Kraft. And, of course, shortly thereafter, the ACL happens. And so 100% agree with you. This is going to be the one where now the meter probably peaks a little bit more towards the player than the Green Bay Packers.
With training camp practice beginning a week from today, we know Micah is going to miss the first few weeks of the season. Who do you think is the most important defensive player for the first few weeks of this Packers season without Micah?
I don't mean to be cliche, but it's got to be Van Ness. The ceiling for him, I think, is still very high. I think the expectations for him is still very high, and I think he needs to step up and step into a leadership role, not only on the field, but off the field. And so I think that star, that spotlight, if you will, I think it's shining directly on Lucas Van Ness.
Looking at, looking at these extensions, kind of look towards the future here a little bit. And, I mean, I'm 99.99% confident Tucker Kraft is going to have an extension. Then you look at the regular starters who are not under contract. It's only 2 guys. It's Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon. Do you think, I mean, we're probably going to be in a situation next offseason talking about, cornerback depth again. Do you think, regardless of how the season goes, if either one of those guys even balls out, would you bring back one of those guys just for depth purposes, or do you just play this thing out and, we might just have to start fresh again next year?
Great question. And obviously, Gutekunst and his staff have to look at the short term and the long term. And when you look at this, and again, the caveat is how well do they play this year? Because if one of them or both of them do ball out, then yeah, you have some decisions to make. And let's put it this way: both of them have great years, and arguably you could say, all right, they're up for a big extension. I only see one of them getting done. I don't see Green Bay saying, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to get both of them. And again, asking me which one, today I'd probably say Keyshawn Nixon, but do I think Carrington Valentine has more upside right now? Potentially, yes. So if they both ball out, I think what Green Bay did in the draft this year, again, going back to draft and develop, there's just not enough money to go around and pay everybody. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to be selective, and you've got to draft knowing full well that you might be in a situation next year where these draft choices this year might be your starters next year. So I just don't see both of them getting a deal done. Matter of fact, when you look at the cap over the next few years, I don't know if either one of them gets a big deal. And again, the caveat being, how well do they play this year? And how well do they play in this new defense? That's the other thing. It's a brand new defense. And so does their skill set match the defense? So a lot of question marks, but yeah, I would lean towards the fact that neither one of them gets a new deal.
Just a little, what or a pick? Kind of, I don't know. I was trying to come up with a good name with this. You got to pick one guy to restructure his contract to keep him around, because again, looking at next year, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. Xavier McKinney has a $24.8 million cap hit for 2027. Josh Jacobs has a $16.6 million cap hit. I mean, this Packers are going to have to make some decisions coming up next offseason with Edrin Cooper, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, possibly Jordan Morgan. So if you had to pick one of those two guys, assuming Josh Jacobs is cleared and ready to go, nothing's going to hold him back, which one would you keep?
I would keep Xavier, 100%. I would keep McKinney. I think he is the quarterback of that defense. I think since Green Bay has gotten him, the secondary play has improved dramatically. And again, everyone talks about the tread on the tires of a running back, and Josh Jacobs has tread on the tires. And so when you're looking at next year's cap, 100%, zero question in mind, would I keep Xavier over Josh Jacobs? And I know you said the caveat being, let's say he's cleared and everything's great, which, again, I highly doubt that that's going to happen. I still think there will be a suspension this year, but I just don't think there's any way that you could say we're going to go with Josh Jacobs over Xavier McKinney. I think it's Xavier McKinney 100%. I don't think there's a question mark at all. I think he's your guy.
He's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting some football. A week away from Packers training camp. Next week, Joe, when you're on, we'll preview a little bit more about day one of practice. And so get your bike out, and we'll chat with you again next week, okay?
All right, Dan. Take care, brother.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. We got to take a quick break, and we'll be back. We're running a little behind, so we got to play a little catch-up here. But we'll talk some more green and gold. We got more baseball as well. So quick break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. When you're looking for your next vehicle, choose a dealership that knows and cares about the community it serves. Toyston Ford in Chippewa Falls is proud to be locally owned and operated, providing hometown service and a better buying experience for drivers throughout the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're looking for a new Ford, a quality pre-owned vehicle, or trusted service for the vehicle that you already own, the team at Toyston Ford is there to help. Experience the difference of shopping local. Toyston Ford in Chippewa Falls, your hometown Ford dealer. Hey, don't forget, time is running out. If you want to participate in the upcoming 6th annual Casper Classic, Friday, August 7th, we opened up one spot for that highly coveted 10 a.m. tee time. So if you want to get in there, you want to claim that spot, you got to head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and sign up your two-person team for just $90 per team, not per person, per team. So split it between you and your partner if you want. But that includes your round, your cart, your meal, your couple of beverage tickets. Okay, or if you want to participate early on, 7:30 a.m. slate. We got a few more of those too. So all details and to sign up, just go get to sportstalk1051.com and click on the Casper Classic icon there, and it'll take you right to the sign up page. Big thanks to all of our partners. Well, first of all, big thanks to all of you who have already signed up to play in the Casper Classic. But big thanks to our partners, Window World, presenting sponsor for the Casper Classic. We got Muldoon's, Service Master, Park Ridge Distributing, Hy-Vee, Edward Jones, Financial Advisor, Kelsey, Nikolai, Dodge, Cambridge, Myron Construction, VFW Post 305, Superior Auto Body, Home Oasis, Resonance Branding, Claflin Construction, Carpet City Flooring Center, and Economy Furniture. So, yeah, time's running out. Can't believe it's going to be 2 weeks from this Friday. Got some fun stuff planned for this year too. So who's going to win the title belts? But also, nobody's really been talking about who's going to get the green jacket this year. Who's going to be awarded the green jackets and join that coveted class of green jacket wearers? So we'll have to find out Friday, August 7th. Again, Lake Hallie Golf Course. If you are interested in donating a raffle prize, because 100% of the proceeds go to help fund Backyard Dreams, oh, man, reach out. I'd love to chat. I'll put you in contact with one of our peeps, but we could definitely use it. More the better, right? More the merrier. So if you're interested in helping out with that, that would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic. So, okay, we've got Brew Crew. We'll talk some more Brew Crew. A lot of you chiming in with some questions for Ty from Slab Factory, which is awesome. That's awesome. So keep those coming. We'll get to as many as possible. We got a lot of them here. Keep them coming. And so we'll get to those with Ty coming up in about 15 minutes or so. So Ty from Slab Factory going to be joining us before he heads down to Nationals, the National next week. But we'll get back to our Brewers talk here too as we get set for the rubber match this afternoon. 1:10 first pitch. Logan Henderson on the mound for the Brew Crew. Coverage will begin 35 minutes prior on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So we'll get to that. We'll get back to more Brewers talk here coming up in just a skosh. With 1 week left until we get to Packers training camp, the first Packers training camp practice, I'll just kind of throw it out to the rest of you. What is maybe the main thing that you're going to be kind of paying attention to? What is going to be the main position, player? What's the biggest question mark you have about this team as we head into training camp? Kicking, rookie kicker, special teams, new special teams coordinator, new defense coordinator, switching over back to a 3-4. There's a few different things. And maybe kind of a fun thing, is there a remaining free agent out there that you'd be intrigued to see Green Bay bring in? There's some names out there. There's no question about it. Just to kind of maybe refresh the memory here. But like Debo's out there. I don't think they would probably bring in another wide receiver, but Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, Trayvon Diggs. Bring him back. Hassan Reddick. I'm kind of curious about that one. They might go with the youth movement, but I mean, you got a Jonathan Gannon connection there. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some of these other ones. But if you look it up, you could go to like SpotTrack.com and look at 2026 NFL free agents and just click the tab that says available. You'll see the list there. Kind of surprised on some of these. Maybe a little surprised that Debo's still available, but I think some of these teams might just, and with them being veterans, there might just be the case like, okay, we're going to wait till camp and then some of these guys are going to sign. Or maybe they want to see some of the youngsters get a crack, or maybe they're just waiting for an injury. It's going to happen to a team somewhere. And then maybe the price goes up just a little bit more. But there's definitely some names out there for sure. Okay, we got to take one more break before the top of the hour. But, hey, it is Wednesday, so it also means it's a What If Wednesday. First hour, you flooded us with some what ifs. So keep those coming. Have fun with this one. Have fun with it. It is also a what are we doing here Wednesday? I got mine, but I'm going to do it in a 9 o'clock hour. And I'm just going to kind of tee it up here. It's going to be kind of a feedback question attached with it, an informal poll question attached with it. Sports media has been in the news a lot in the last 24, 36, 48 hours, and it's going to be related to that. And maybe one particular person. So That's coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the second hour, and we're already going to be at halftime, peeps. We'll be back after these quick words. When your vehicle needs attention, make it easy on yourself. Trust the team at AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. With 2 convenient locations, AJM Automotive makes taking care of your car, truck, or SUV simple. Need service? How about scheduling your appointment? Scheduling your appointment is quick and easy. All you have to do is just visit ajmautomotiveservices.com and book online when it works for you. And if the unexpected happens and you're stuck on the side of the road, AJM's towing services are there to help get you and your vehicle where you need to go. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, AJM Automotive Services is your local partner for honest, dependable auto care. 2 Eau Claire locations, easy online scheduling, trusted service when you need it the most. That's AJM Automotive Services, where they keep you moving. All right, just a few minutes left to the top of the hour here. We got a few people chiming in with their what they're going to be paying attention to with the Pack. We've got Ben saying rookie kicker. We've got Derek saying new defensive coordinator. We've got Matt saying it's the offensive line. Another pick for offensive line from Kevin. We've got Tyler saying it's the cornerbacks. And then another texter, don't have a name, can't give you any cred, but saying it is it's the offensive line with specifically Jordan Morgan, they said. So keep those coming. All right, we are 1 week away from the Packers' first training camp practice of the year. Can you feel it? Kind of felt like it last night a little bit. Maybe even this morning if you were up and at it, it's like, ooh, a little fall weather. Kind of like it. Not going to lie. Kind of like it. But Brewers again back at it 1-10 today. We got Logan Henderson on the mound here going for the Brewers. So Logan Henderson, man, when you look at his numbers, it feels like he has pitched more than just 33 innings this year. I don't know why. It feels like he's pitched more than 7 games. But in 7 games, he is 3-1, 2.97 ERA, little over 33 innings pitched. And obviously he missed a lot of time he missed the whole month of June. Almost about a month and a half. Made his return right before the All-Star break in a game against the Cardinals on the 9th. Went 5 1/3, gave it 3 hits, 3 earned runs. Picked up the win, though. And then the last time we saw him was last Friday against Miami. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. No walks, 4 strikeouts. I think now, okay, Logan, let's continue to build upon that, right? Continue to stack those games. Continue to have consistent games. Seems like a guy that is probably just going to get you 5 innings, maybe a little over 5 innings. That kind of seems to be his max at this point. Where his pitch count is, too, it kind of depends. I mean, he went past, he got to 6 innings once this year, and that was May 3rd. But his pitch count was 76. So the most he has thrown in a game was 85. 85 and then 84. Otherwise, not taking the first game where he went 2 innings on April 4th against the Royals, you're talking about pitch counts in the 70s. 76, 74, 76, 73. And with Bryce Wilson last night going 4 innings and kind of preserving that bullpen and knowing that the Brewers have an off day tomorrow, much needed, last night from Bryce Wilson. Obviously, would have liked to have seen the Brewers make a comeback and pick up that win and secure a series win, but I would expect, maybe Logan Henderson, if you can get to 5, it's going to be bullpen heavy after that. Utilize the bullpen. They should be ready to go. They should be healthy. The arms should be ready to go for this afternoon's game. But let's see Logan Henderson continue to put together consecutive solid outings, consecutive solid games here, because he's going to be a big part of the overall success for the Brewers if they want to make that deep run into the postseason. We talk a lot about the Miz. Kyle Harrison, Sounds like he's going to be coming back at the beginning part of August. Logan Henderson, he's a part of that group, man. He's a part of that group. That's got to be a big, big, big reason why, hopefully, the Brewers have a deep postseason run. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off. Looking forward to our chat with Ty coming up here from the Slab Factory. Big thanks to everybody who sent over some questions. A lot of questions for Ty here this morning. So thank you for doing that. We'll get to those. We've got lots to hit up with Ty. So we're going to get to that. Plus, continue to send me your what ifs. And what are we doing here? It's a what if Wednesday and a what are we doing here Wednesday? Give me your sport, like if there's a sports story, news item, whatever it may be, where you'd be like, dude, what are we doing here? Send it on over. Okay? It's got to be sports related, though. Make it appropriate. All right? Make it appropriate. So, all right, shot clock is going to cut me off here. So, we are at halftime. We've got some news updates, and we'll be back here in just a scotch to kick off our Inside the Hobby chat with Ty coming up after these quick words.